Hi, I'm SantyDark from SDJ Records, and this is the making of Outworld, Way of the Samurai. What? Another Outworld album in less than a year? I really like this Okay, so by this point I think we can divide Outworld's albums into two different categories. There's the main character type albums and then there's the themed albums. In the main character category we have the album Legendary, that tells the story of Aethros, and the latest album released to this date called Skykeeper, which tells the story of Mateo. I think these are commonly named by people as concept albums. I'm still not entirely sure about the exact meaning of that, so I can't tell. Everything else, including this new album, falls into the themed albums category. There is no main character here, this is rather a collection of songs with Japanese mythology topics. And of course, as always happens with Outworld, there's a mix of actual mythology and fictional/invented one, with dark fantasy elements added to it. So, in Outworld, when we are talking about the samurai, it's not just a normal Japanese man with armor and a katana. It's probably an undead cursed being possessed with supernatural powers, fighting his inner demons and all that shit. I took a lot into consideration from the comments that I've been reading about the previous album Skykeeper, specifically two key comments that called my attention. The first one being that there were not enough fast songs in the album, and the second one is that it felt light or soft. And you know what? I agreed to both. Those are two things that I focused on changing for this new album. Also, I wanted to bring back some of those low, heavy, distorted vocals that I was used to sing like in the older albums. Ancient place following their tale of honor lost, of vengeance veiled. It's a heavier album. It's a faster album. But it's also still progressive in the way that has those pauses with those cinematic moments and calm parts to add some of these Japanese ambience to it. Everything else is pretty much what you will expect from Outworld. This is a heavy metal album through and through, with traditional Japanese elements. I have been studying the main traditional Japanese scales very carefully to apply them in the songs in a way that makes sense and doesn't block or limit my creativity. While working on the album, I realized that the way to achieve the Japanese feeling of the album is not to be tied to these scales, but to rather use them when the right moment calls for it. I think there's beauty in the challenge of knowing and being aware of where those moments are in each and every song. For these reasons, I can say that I really enjoyed my time working on the album and I learned a lot during the process. But it was also super challenging. Since I finished the second single called Shasuke Nakamura, I had to take a big break from the album because I felt like I lost the sense of direction. But luckily, I recovered it time after and here we are. I am going to share with you some of the things that I've learned and how I apply them to the songs. There are like 4 or 5 different scales. I mean, there are more than that, right? But 4 or 5 most commonly used traditional Japanese scales. However, the one that is more commonly used is the Hirahoshi scale, which sounds like this. Now here's how that will sound like in the context of Outworld's music. I applied this scale and some of the others as well in several moments across the album. If you want to learn more about this yourself, I want to recommend you a video that is the same one that I watched and studied to learn all these scales. It's made by this channel called Max. It has everything on display, it has the proper names for each scale, and it has the proper representation with the sound. It is thanks to this video that I know everything that I used for this album. I will leave a link of this video in the description if you want to check it out. And now there's the folk instruments, which as always in each Outworld album are different depending on the album's theme. In this case I used the following instruments. Koto, shamisen, eru, shakuhachi, and a full set of East Asia percussion ensemble. I also been studying how these instruments are played and what are the typical ways to play them, so I can add them in the music in a way that makes sense and it reminds of the traditional way to play these instruments. And about the sound, it's the typical Outworld production sound. I always end up choosing this same production for every album because it's just my favorite for this specific project. It blends perfectly well with whatever I decide to add to it. Orchestral arrangements, folk or Celtic instruments, the massive choir, everything fits perfectly, if of course the volumes are mixed properly. Yo, check this out, this is one of my favorite riffs from the album. Let's analyze what is going on here. So, what is making the main melody for the song is this instrument called eru. This is the riff that I composed. It's also cool because it has a healthy amount of reverb to make it sound spacey and sound very ambience-y. Then I added a koto, which is doing the following. Then we have this. And then lastly, there's this. I think with the Outworld drum, you can barely hear this percussion, but even then, I think it's pretty cool to have it at least in the background. So let's listen to only the Japanese instruments alone. Pretty cool. I think I composed these first and then I came up with everything else, like the guitars, the bass and the drums. A clan is born with a weight of steel. Through fist of fire, the fate is sealed. A warrior bound by legendary blood. His soul remains never forgot. The ancient sword that claims the night. Past the crowns of righteous might. Families all forever sworn. Cursed lands, demons there. The moonless night becomes a silent prayer. In the grip of death, he shall not cower, for in his blood flows the darkened power. Beneath the mountain, deep in the abyss, he saw the blade of death's cruel kiss. A demon's voice, a pact to make. Drink of the void, let the power awake. We power forth from death. Alright, let's talk about the song list now. So, the album consists in 10 songs and the total length is 50 minutes. The first 2 songs of the album are the already released 2 singles, Way of the Samurai and Shasuke Nakamura. Then the third song is Below the Broken Moon. The fourth song is Blood Lineage. Then there's Shogun of Death, Tears of the Fallen Ronin, the ballad of the album, Reforged from Pain, For Honor, Kami of the Blackened Sky, and Blades of the Fallen Sun. The release date for this album is the 18th of October, so be ready. I think you guys are going to really like it if you like Outworld, of course. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.